careful. So I've learned a lot of things from what he has mentioned, the stages and the fact that you need to know to study the atmosphere in your congregation. See if they are ready or not, so that you know how to end the message. That is not very simple for us who are not theologians, isn't it? But because those who are theologians know, they are trained, but for us it is not very easy to be able to judge. So sometimes you are just eager to make the call when people are saying, what are we being called to? Okay? Or sometimes you leave halfway, like I did, and people saying, hey, I wish, I really wanted to decide, but he has left me. Okay, next time. So it's important to know and study the congregation you're dealing with. Okay, some of you have been asking me for my contact. That's the one I prefer to give. I normally don't give out my phone, except hello, is it working? Okay, because I'm always out traveling to different places, and sometimes people may want to call you when you are in different places, and you don't answer and they'll think you are rude. So I prefer to you to be contacted by email, but if it becomes so important that we have to be in touch by phone, then I can give it after we have been in touch by email. So that is my email, and that we can be in touch through that means. There's also something else I wanted to show here before getting into the presentation for today, and that is that is again people asking for the presentations. Brother Irumba should have received them and may share them with others, but I can also send you a link whereby you can get them online. That the advantage of those online are, whenever I update them, you'll get the latest. Whenever you open them, you get the updated one. And so you can see, because they're dynamic, they keep on being updated. So you can use that. That will be online. I thought I would be able to show this, but it doesn't matter. It's just a link, which you don't have to copy from here. I can only send it to you by email. So, but I've already shared it with So I've already shared it with Brother Irumba, and he can share it with you. So he has both the presentations themselves, PDF, and also has this link. So it is up to you to know, to see what you can use. If you need to use them, of course, you can improve on them, you can adjust them based on your need and based on knowledge. That is what I wanted to share again. It's also something else that I wanted to share with you. And that is see if it will come. Okay, no problem. We will show it at the end, because I think there's interference. Just leave it. We'll show it at the end. In order to see it, I have to go here. Okay. For those of you who are interested in education, or who are studying, or who want to know about other institutions around the world, you can get that information. Of course, you have seen on mine, you have not seen it. You will see it when the email is sent to you. You will see that there is a website there for the education department. That is available. You can go to it and get to know what is happening. There are also resources that can be used, especially for those of you who are in school. This one here is meant for, we call it the advanced accrediting website. It doesn't want to operate. The advanced accrediting website, when you get it, you'll see some pictures of our institutions. By the way, this is Middle East University right now in Beirut. Pray for it and pray for Beirut. If you listened to the news yesterday, there was heavy bombardment in the city of Beirut. It's almost all flattened. So we don't know what is happening to our people there in that institution, Middle East University. But that is one. But then what I was interested in is to show, for those of you who are in education especially, you can get some resources. In this corner here, there are some resources. When you click it, there are numerous presentations, PowerPoints, and so on, which you may find useful, helpful to you. And as you know, website, when you go to the website, you can survey it, because I don't think those of us who designed it, have surveyed everything. So you can survey it and discover whatever you want to discover and use what you need to discover, as long as you use it in the right way. So again, just small snippet of what we do and what is available for those of you. And if those of you who want to study abroad and you have the funding, because it's expensive, but if you want to explore what is happening, again, you can get the addresses from there. You can get information on what programs, what courses they offer, where they are located, and so on and so forth. Some of those in South America are good but expensive. North America, of course, is very expensive. Asia is not as expensive, but there are few English-speaking universities. Actually, they are only in the Philippines. Thailand, they don't use English. Indonesia, they don't use English. Myanmar, they don't use English. But India and Philippines, those use English. So just sharing some information for you, because you are dealing with students, those of you are chaplains, and they will ask you some questions, and maybe even yourself you are interested in getting some little information. That is, those websites are available for you to use. All right? Okay, this moment we want to look at actually our last presentation on this topic, in this area, youth leadership with integrity. That is the idea, that's the goal behind it. All other things we're talking about just drive us to being leaders with integrity, spiritual leaders, church leaders, youth leaders who are leading with a difference. There are things here that others may not like. There are things which are not here, because there are many things about leadership, but this was just helping us to be leaders with integrity. Abakulembeze abesimbu, as we say, abainowesimbu, spiritual leaders. So now I want to look at a few skills, some skills of spiritual leaders, some of the things that are helpful, that are useful as a spiritual leader, so that you can be able to. Thank you. So that you can be able to fulfill the roles that we saw yesterday. We talked about roles yesterday. Those are expectations. Now, here are some of the skills, and they're wide, they're big. We are not going to be able to cover everything. We look at things like ensuring leading with a vision, handling conflict. We saw that yesterday, a bit of that. Setting the emotional climate, sharing negative concerns, responding to criticism, dealing with compromise, handling betrayal, and exiting honorably. These are skills that we want to share with you. They are not conclusive. They are not everything. You can add as many as you can. The main purpose of a leader, as we saw from the beginning, is to have a vision. To have a vision for the organization. Where is this organization going? Where is this church going? Where is my youth organization leading to? What do we want to achieve? Some visions are very big. Some are not as big. But the vision should be such that it can be achieved when time goes by. So the leader's responsibility is to make sure that there is a vision for the organization. Leading an organization without a vision is like driving when you are in the dark and your eyes are also closed. Vision is the mental image that the leader conveys to the organization. The mental image, it's not tangible. You cannot touch it, but you have it, and this you say, this is where I want to go. This is what I want this organization to be. This is where I want my young people to be like. This is what we are looking for. We are yearning for. Addressing the what, the why, and the when. What is it that you want to be? Why is it that you want that? And how or when are you going to be able to achieve that? What is your goal? What is your projection? It may be a stepwise vision. And maybe that is even better because it is difficult to achieve everything in one go. But you may have a large vision, break it down into small portions. Leader can't feel contented with the status quo. We saw that yesterday, that leaders are usually go-getter. They want to achieve. They want to see things happening. They are innovators. They want to see change, innovation for the good, not change for the sake of changing, but changing for the good, for innovation. So they must convey a vision with clarity, importance, urgency, and size. It must be clear. They must take time to clarify the vision. Again, this addresses the question we had one of the days when we talked about vision. How come people don't see the vision? Try to make it as clear as possible. Again, somebody mentioned it yesterday. Let the vision be clear. So you must convey the vision with clarity, with importance. If people don't see the importance of the decision, the vision, they will look at it with a kind of skeptical eyes. So it must be important. The sense of urgency, although that should not be the driving force, but they should also have the sense that this has got to be achieved. I think this is similar to what we have been studying during the call, making a call. People should see that this is urgent, this is important, and I need to make a decision. So you need to convey, to lead them to such a position that they think this is important. It is clear there is nothing else that I need to do. It has been made clear. It's important. What am I waiting for? That's what that guy on the chariot said. You know, the eunuch. He said, what am I waiting for? Here is water. So it is urgent. There's no more need to wait. Likewise, the vision should be conveyed that way, that it is urgent. And then also convey the size, because sometimes it may be overarching vision for the entire institution, entire church, or it may be a portion of the vision for the entire church, which it should be, because when the church makes you a youth leader, you're not going to have your own church. You are working within the umbrella, within the mission of the church, and therefore your vision should be part of what that church vision is. Okay. So it is important to know where the limits are and the size of the vision. Worthwhile vision captures the attention and obedience of others. Once it is worthwhile, once they see it is important, they get captured. They begin to see. Remember, we said it may not be 100%. You'll be very, very, very successful if you get 100%. but it usually, I don't say never, but it hardly ever 100% because of some differences. For spiritual leaders, the vision comes initially after seeking the heart of God. Again, going back to what we say, you cannot just go and convey vision. It might be very helpful, might be very good as you know it, and you must have read about it. But remember, prayer is very vital. Eteeka okuba ng'osabye Katonda okuyamba okusobola okubeera ne vision eno ejja kukwatibwa abantu, ejja kuyamba abantu okugenda mu maaso. A visionless leader is leading people in blindness. The next thing is handling conflict. We saw part of this yesterday. Handling conflict. Not everything is smooth sailing. Cases of conflict and cases of conflict are not absent in organizations. The conflict, the devil, remember, is still roaring like a lion. And so he will look around, but when it comes to organizations, he may not come like a roaring lion. He may come like a slithering snake. Because he knows that if he comes as a rolling lion, you'll be able to tell. So you either run away or handle him in such a way that, but he will now come like a slithering snake, trying to sneak in so that he can take of you. So conflict will always be there. Leaders must become skillful in handling such situations and not run away from them. Try to get skillful. If you run away from them, then you are not a leader. How do you do that? They should not fear conflict. It should not be something to be afraid of because it will always be there. Of course, it can shake you a bit, sometimes depending on the level and how serious the conflict is. But you should not fear it. They should not jump to conclusions that the conflicts are their enemies, or those who have caused the conflicts are their enemies. Don't judge conclusions so quickly. There are people who are quick. When they see something, they say, this is so because and this and that and that. Make sure that you don't jump to conclusions. They should respond appropriately with the necessary and adequate tenacity. You can let it go. Some conflicts are better solved by letting it fizzle out. Okay? It may come in, and if you jump at it, it becomes even more. You give them the opportunity to actually hit back. But some of them, you get to know about it, let it go, as long as the mission of the organization is being achieved, as long as it's not disorganizing. But not all of them are to be like that, because some of them, when you let them go, they'll grow. But there are others, they want to get your attention, they want you to see how you wobble as a leader. Remember, you said if your hub is not, if you're not hinged on the hub, you will begin to wobble and everyone will see. So they are trying to make it that way. And so be careful how to decide. Don't think don't deal with it first of all on a personal level. If it is from a person, deal with it on a personal level, or deal with it in a small group, or individuals separately. And of course they say, not that. But the thing is, when you deal with individuals separately, you get a lot of information which can help you to handle the group conflicts. So first of all, deal with it on a personal level. And if not, the Bible says then bring another person where necessary to serve as a witness. And then if not, involve others to bring out an appropriate response, often in the form of a committee action or afterward. So before you rush the committee, some conflicts don't need to rush the committee. Some did, some do. It's again maturity of the leader that will help them to see which one. Tobuukira mangu ago genda ku conclusion oba kuyita lukiiko. Ezimu oyinza okusooka n'oyogera n'abantu abo, talk with them, find out what the issue really is, then you can see what to do next. Others, once you do, they are not. And this is biblical. We know the Bible is wonderful. It told us the same. Ask the person to relinquish membership. So a time, as we said yesterday, a time may come where you may have to separate. You are not contributing. We have talked about this, and we are not together. It appears we are not together. It will be better if you go into another department or go to another area or not be part of the leadership team. That time may come. It's not an easy one, and it should not be the first resort, but it can come. To ask the person to find another place, another organization, or to leave the organization. But still you continue. That person is still a candidate for heaven. He's a child of God. So continue praying for that person. Continue trying your best to woo them back, to show them the right thing. And many of them will see their challenges and come back. Others may continue on, but God will continue working on them if you're praying for them and treating them like a brother. Next is setting the emotional climate. The emotion of the climate. The emotion of the organization. The leader's attitude affects others. Your attitude affects others. If you're negative, every time you're talking about the negativity of the church, this church is this for me. This church does not do this. Then most people will begin to be following you. They will be seeing nothing but negativity. So you are setting the climate for the organization. And yet, on the other hand, if you are supportive and say, well, we have some challenges, but we are going forward. Thank God we are able to move. And people will just follow and say, yes, this is it. So the emotional climate of the organization is set by you as a leader first and foremost. Spending time alone with God, growing the grand garden of flowers instead of thistles. How many times can we say that? Spending time with God, wrestling, praying for the organization, that sows flowers instead of thorns. Asking God to help you to grow flowers instead of thorns. Because organizations can be complex and there would be thorny people in there. Should admit feelings of anger, despair, fear, and confess them to God. Know that you can get angry, isn't it? Yeah, when things are not going well, when people are criticizing, when everything is, you feel, naturally, you feel angry. You can get angry. You can get despair keeping up. Fear sometimes, what are they going to do to me? What will happen? What happens if the organization fails? What if it fails on me? This has been moving forward, and now all of a sudden, it's happening. What do you do with them? Take them to God first and foremost. And if it persists, you can seek counseling, you can seek assistance from other leaders, from the board. That can help you, but be honest with God. Tell him that you are scared, that things are happening and you are fearful. You don't know what is going to happen. Let him know so that he can also help you with a specific problem. Watch words. Watch words. The words that you need to be careful to watch. When leaders, in others, watch your words. When leaders speak, people listen. They repeat. They discuss. They react one way or the other. So watch your words when you're trying to build the climate. We have just said that if you're always saying the negative, those people, the organization, that is for them. That people listen. People listen, you're setting the climate. They even repeat. They begin to repeat, to follow. Leadership is very important, very interesting, because of the influence. We started off seeing that leadership is influence. What you say, what you do, how you do it, how you say it, will catch others, and they will begin to say the same thing, to repeat, to discuss, and to react. And the reaction may be one way or the other. So be careful how you say what you say, how you say it, and when you say it. There will be times when you have to share negative concerns. It is your responsibility your responsibility to warn people of some danger, some serious situations, and things like that. I can imagine the leadership in Beirut, the leaders of the church there and other leaders, to share such news is not the easiest. Most of you have been leaders in different places. When there are challenges, especially serious challenges, it's not easy. And yet, it is your responsibility to share that news, that information. By the way, there is a whole topic that we can talk about when we talk about institutional leadership, how to and who should share information. Because it is not good for everybody in the organization to keep on speaking for the organization. That is very dangerous, because not everybody will speak the same. First and foremost, you as the leader, you are the spokesperson. You are the official spokesperson. And then you may have delegated person, maybe public relations officer, maybe publicity person, but then they should have clear instructions on what to say and how to say it on behalf of the organization. So it's important when you're sharing concerns, especially negative concerns, to know when to do it and who does it. But we see organizations, especially today, when everybody has got these useful things, and everybody wants to share news, and what goes out there is very, very distorted, very negative, very demeaning, very abusive, all that you can think about. Ng'oyogera eri abantu eri public, kituufu okumanya nti omukulembeze omukulu alina obuvunaanyizibwa okusharinga information eri abantu eri public. Muyinza okuba nga mulinamu publicity person. Okay, that is all right. When organizations grow, you share, you delegate responsibilities. But the person should know what to say and when to say it. Try as much as possible. I know it is very difficult. But try as much as possible to educate your members not to speak on behalf of the organization, especially when it is negative concerns for the public. Try to educate them continually not to speak on behalf of the organization. Not that we don't want them to say, okay, or not that we don't want them to have an opinion. They may have an opinion. They should share it in the right forum. But when it comes on speaking for the association, the organization, the church, the PCM group, whatever, it's first and foremost the leader, the president, and the person delegated that responsibility with clear instructions on how to do it. That is important. Sharing negative should be honest. Now, if you're doing it, or whoever is doing it, this should be honest and not overly negative. Should be honest. We have had news that you're being attacked, or that there might be an attack, or there are some bombs that have been planted in some place. But the situation is being taken care of. We have alerted the law enforcement, and they are already taking care about it. But however, we advise you to be very attentive. Don't speak to the public. Make sure you share the information you have with us so that we can take the necessary steps. That kind of speech, that kind of input is professional, is what is expected. I know people want to share, and you may not be able to stop them completely, but educate them. And especially educate them from a Christian stance, from a spiritual point of view, that we are not simply an organization, we are a spiritual point of view. So you hear things, talked about the church, and so said this, and this is what is happening in the church these days, and you say, where is this coming from? Okay? That does not help your organization, does not help your church. It definitely has flaws, just like we all do. It has challenges. But it is not for everybody to share those challenges. Negativity leaves people with despair. When you tell them the negative and don't give them any hope, they despair. Some of them want to run away. Others are thinking of different kinds of things, and so on and so forth. So don't bring about that kind of situation, because the organization, the church, the youth group must continue. is going to be continuing. And so you don't want them to despair and give up and run away because of your kind of information. The people help people to understand the need and to take the remedy. Help people to understand and to follow the remedy. Those of us who have been involved in leadership organizations and institutions, we must have a risk management plan. Risk management, or sometimes you call it, what is the other term used? We'll remember it. But a risk management plan. How are you going to handle issues? Depending on the risk. If it is an invasion, if it is attack, if it is theft, and so on, you know how to deal with people, where to gather, where they will gather, where you account for everybody. Because as a leader, you are accountable for people. Maybe you have gone for a camporee somewhere. You have gone for a camporee and something is happening, or maybe there's a flood that comes all of a sudden. You are accountable, so you need to know how to, you keep your people, how to advise them so that they don't despair. Estimate the potential outcome of what you saw, or what is said. Be able to anticipate what is likely to come out of this. If I tell people, we are finished, we are finished, then of course people will say we are finished, it's done. There is no hope. Because if the leader says it is like that, then there is no hope. So it's important to be able to use the right words. Use the following to turn up the thermostat. Okay? Use the following, especially when things are now cooling down and getting ready and getting better. Use the following. Use smiles, warm greetings. Hey friends, how are you this morning? Did you have some sleep? How did you go through the night, this terrible night? How did you go through the storm? Okay? You're showing concern. So warm greetings, friendly gestures, energetic welcomes, positive lessons. What did we learn from this experience? Positive lessons, optimistic emails. Okay? If the organization is big or if you are scattered, you may want to send out emails and say, you all heard that we faced this and that and that and that. But the situation is under control, and now we are back to functioning. We are functioning, though not fully, but we are back. Thank you for praying for us. Continue to pray, and we'll keep you informed of what is happening. Then people know, because you have taken young people out in a camp, and the parents are concerned, and you are not telling them anything. They hear the rumors, people are spreading whatever rumors, and you're not telling them anything official. So make sure that you can send out positive, optimistic emails. Thank you notes. When it has happened, thank those who helped you to overcome the situation. Thank them. Don't just assume that, well, they were doing their responsibility. Thank them. And publish public vision statements, state what is going to happen next. And other things like pat on the back and high fives and so on. Making the life reasonable. Life, things to continue to move. And I appreciate the way you are dealing with this situation, especially when we get down there and things are not quite ready. I see that we are doing it with enthusiasm and some smile and some jokes. That brings about synergy. It brings about synergy, it brings about support, it brings about hope. So that even if you have to share some negative concerns, you are doing it in the right way. That is helping. Then, responding to criticism. Briefly again, according to Alan Nelson, whom most of the material here come from, leading and criticism are kissing cousins. What does that mean? When cousins hold each other, there's nobody who is going to say, oh, what is happening between those two? This is basically what he's saying. So what he's saying here is conflict and leadership are almost brothers and sisters. They're like cousins. You cannot have one without the other, almost. Or having one implies getting some of the other as well. What do we do? Criticism cannot act No, can also act as a leader, a leader disturber, a leader fertilizer, just as, let me read it as it is. Okay? Criticism can also act as a leader fertilizer, just as dung fertilizes the garden. In other words, criticism may help you to come out of some situation. Just as dung, that is kalimbo wenkoko, kalimbo usawente. It's not nice. They don't even smell good. But when you put them on your vegetables, what do you get? A good garden, isn't it? So criticism may be able to help you. Not that it is useful, not that it is enjoyable, not that you must yearn for it, but learn from it. It may help you to overcome and be vibrant. Recognize that criticism has some value for a leader. At least it can help to keep you humble. So it has some value. Make note of who is giving criticism. Is it a friend or foe? That is important. We saw it, I think, the other day. You better be criticized by a friend than being flattered by an enemy. If an enemy is the one who is saying, hey, everything is okay, you are wonderful, just be careful, because they are not very genuine. So, likewise here, look at who is giving the criticism. Now, of course, we don't encourage, and I personally always say, when the people say, do you have any enemies? I said, why should I have? If they feel like they are my enemies, they should come and tell me. But I don't for me, I like everybody. I don't mind about everyone. I may not be able to do good things to everyone, and it is not practically possible, but why develop enemies? However, this is the world where we live. Some may hate you because of the way you dress, the way you talk, what you have done in the past, a few other small things. Okay? Know who is telling you, who is giving you that criticism. If it is a friend, maybe it is not a criticism, but a critique. If it's a friend, it's not necessarily a criticism. In other words, they're not planning to put you down, but they're trying to show you something that is not fitting, which you need to improve so that you get better. That is called a critique. You're finding out, they're trying to help you. N'olwekyo weegendereze, si buli muntu akuwulira oba akunenya. Criticism is what? Akukalakata oba akukolokota. Nti mukwano gwo oba si mukwano gwo. Abamu bayinza okuba nga bakuyamba, kye tuyita critique, omulala nga yali agenda kukwonona linnya lyo, just criticism. Think about what is being said. Think about it. Don't just say, even if you don't want to create an enemy, but think about what is being said. Maybe there is a point. Think about it. You hear it, you're not happy, they have criticized you, maybe in a meeting, maybe you heard it in a rumor. Go to your office or your home. Say, this is what they said. Did I say something wrong? Maybe there's something in it. What is it that is in there? So think about it. Don't just brush it aside. Because once you think about it, you may find that it may help you to change something which will reduce the criticism. Look at how it is expressed. Is it expressed with anger, with fiercely, and they want to fight? Or is it like, we suggest that you do something like this? It's a kind of a suggestion. Because even a suggestion could be a criticism. Why don't you do this? Can we suggest that you do something like this? So think about how it is expressed. Avoid defensive mode. Listen and do not draw conclusions. Avoid defensive mode. Avoid always just reacting back. Somebody says something and you say, I know. And so on and so forth. Or trying to say, but we have done. Listen, analyze. Give a few facts and then go back and think about it and see if there's something that needs to be changed. Because we are humans, we are not perfect, we make mistakes and we err. Thank the critique after listening. dialoguing and unpacking solutions. So sometimes it is so hurting that you don't even want to talk to that person anymore. But if you think it is a critique that will help you, thank the person. Oh, thank you for that idea. Thank you for that thought. Thank you for noting that. Thank you for bringing that up or alerting us of this situation. If you have got any suggestions, please make it or bring it to me. We'll work on it when we meet the next time. Something like that. So when you're meeting with the youth team, your group, the leadership of the youth, and you're discussing, somebody comes out and says, but the other day you did this and this thing did not work and this and that. Calm down, listen, thank them, see how to react without overreacting, and then think about it. Next time you may come up with a better solution and become a better leader and win the critique to your side. Because he or she is also a person, a child of God. We have already said that, thank the person. Great, good. No, the goal is not to make everyone happy or to impress people. Remember, if you're trying to make everyone happy, you are on an uphill journey, a very difficult one. Yes, it is good to be liked as a leader. It feels good, and we should cultivate that, but not to think that everything we do must be that which is making people to like me, to put me up and to hold me and so on. It should be something that will grow the organization, not necessarily to impress people. So even when you are saying this, even when you are reacting, even when you are saying thank you, you're not trying to uplift. We're just saying acknowledge that and let us see how we can handle it for the future. Times also come when we have to deal with compromise. Compromise may not necessarily mean breaking the policy, but it is important to know it is possible in small things and not major items. Of course, we don't compromise on our doctrines, we don't compromise on our standards. That one we need to uphold and approach it in a way that is building, that is helpful. But there are others where we can compromise. Compromise means coming halfway, or coming so that we meet halfway. I remember early in my leadership role, I was not the top leader, I was the second one. We had a situation where somebody had become very uncooperative, and time came and it was decided that that person would be given opportunity to find another place. Of course, he didn't like that at all. He made all the kinds of noises and so on. He was doing all this and that. He had the keys for that particular department. And so the leadership of the leader of the organization called us, the administrators, to meet together and see what we are going to do about this. But his stance was, come together, let us walk to the department and let us get the key by force. Because we can't allow this to happen. We thought about it, and this person was also another interesting person. So he said, now we are going down there, and we were going to cause a fracas, because there's now going to be exchange. There's going to be, we don't know how he's going to react. It's going to be a fracas, and here are leaders of the organization, and we are going to create this kind of situation which is going to be misunderstood, or maybe is already misunderstood, because not everybody will hate one person. He had friends, he had people who supported him in whatever things that he was doing which were not right. So after discussing for a long time and talking about this, the leader was bent on just go and get the keys now. Then we said, okay, what are we going to lose? that organization is not critical, that when he keeps the keys for a day or so, it's going to be difficult. Or we can also do it in another way. If he completely refuses, then later on we can maybe change the locks or something like that. But if we go now and cause that fracas, and it's not going to look very well until the leader was able to compromise and said, okay, let's give him a few hours. And we all agreed that we give him some hours to cool down. Some among the administration could talk to him, so they went and talked to him, and he voluntarily afterwards brought the keys. Said, the leader of the organization said, he is coming, can you come and show that we are together? We went quickly together, and he brought the keys, said, okay, here are the keys, I'm leaving now. And we said, that the experience helps me to always, when I think about this, it was a small compromise, but it was going to be blown out of proportions if we went and tried to, cause a stir and try to get the keys by force, and everybody would be shouting or talking and so on, the misunderstanding, the name of the organization. So compromise can take place. Not on philosophy, not mission, but some things we can, like that one I've given, can take place. Knowing where to draw the line is the litmus test between mature leadership or not. Some scientists, you know what litmus is, where you test acid and bases. This is one of those litmus tests, knowing how to draw the line so that you don't compromise principles. That is very important, because what we do, and the devil is very clever, because even when he deals with compromise, he will bring portion little by little. So if you compromise a little, you go to the next one, you go to the next one. So at times you have to know where to make a stand, where to stop, and if you allow it, when are you going to know that it's getting out of hand? That is a litmus test, and there is no formula. It is through maturity, through training like this, it's through consultation, it is through working together. The guiding principle, however, is what is right for the organization, not who is right. Being right is okay as an individual, but the organization is what we are serving. So what is right for the organization? That is an important guiding principle when we are dealing with compromise. It also goes on to say, ask the following questions. Is it a personal issue? If you're compromising, is it on a personal level? If it's a personal issue, deal with it personally. Let it not be brought into the group. What do I stand to lose by giving in? So if it is concerning you, ask yourself the question, what do I lose by giving in? Do I lose the mission of the organization? If so, then don't give in. But if there's nothing major like that you lose, then give in. Like that leader decided to give in so that we could not go at that particular moment to get the keys. Nothing was lost. In fact, he retained his integrity, his respect, because people didn't know what was happening behind the corners. But if we went and we were all there shouting and doing whatever we're doing, then people would say, hey, even our leader can do that, or this is what is happening. So it helps them to retain integrity. So ask yourself, what do I lose by giving in? Am I willing to lose my job for this issue? Some of the compromise may be, or some of the things that we stick on, may be that which will let us lose our jobs, our responsibilities. Why do we lose the job? Is it worthwhile? If not, let it go. Do I have a more significant issue pending? Okay, while I'm dealing with this, maybe there's another one. And if I compromise on this one, it means that I'm going to compromise on the next one. So be careful as you note that. Do I have another pending issue, another similar issue, another issue that requires some important decision making? So ask yourself that question, significant issue pending. You have a vision thing that you're going to share with the people, but then this compromise is going to lessen your authority, lessen your stance. Be careful about that. Will I be able to sleep at night if I compromise? These are simple questions. But they're Christian questions. You are asking yourself, your inner person, am I going to be, how can I live with myself? How can I live with my children if I compromise in this situation? How is my wife going to take it? How are we going to be in society, in the community, when we do such a thing? So that it becomes big and can touch many different areas, many different things. So compromise, yes, could be possible in some places, but make sure you answer these questions. What is God's will? Okay? In fact, that is the first question we should ask. What is God's will? After, then we ask the mission. What is the mission? And then all these other things follow next. Because God's will is the most important for us. Next, handling betrayal. There is also times when you can get betrayed. Leadership implies delegating. It requires delegating responsibilities. But as you delegate, some of the delegatees may betray you in one way or the other. They betray the organization. Leadership demands trusting people. Otherwise, one can never be a leader. So delegation is part of leadership. But it means taking some risk. And because it may result in betrayal. Delegating responsibility means taking some risk. Because you are putting some authority in the hands of the other person to stand on your behalf in the organization. Depending on the issue, sometimes it may lead or it may result in betrayal. You need to be careful. Even the best people are at times attacked. Even however good you may be as a leader, sometimes you may be attacked. Sometimes people may want to destroy you, may betray you, may say things, may want to move the organizations in another way. So be careful. To reduce pain of betrayal, look at the motives of those working against you. Once you recognize that there is this kind of betrayal that appears to be coming, look at the motive. What is it that is driving them? Do they know what they are doing, or are they ignorant? That is an important question. Jesus said, please forgive them because they know not what they do. These people may be doing certain things, maybe out of ignorance. So this is why it is important to study the situation. They may be ignorant. They may not know. Remember we said, I think at the beginning, many of you mentioned that we are thrown into leadership positions without the training. Thank God we have had these few days together, and you can continue doing it in your areas. But many times, all of us have been thrown into leadership positions without any training, and oftentimes even without orientation, and sometimes even without records, because the person who was removed from that office, who was keeping records, is not happy. And because they're not happy, they go with the records. So you have nowhere to begin from and so on. And yet you're expected to perform. And so out of ignorance, you try to do things, some of which may not be in line with what the organization requires, with what the leadership requires. And that may be looked at as betrayal. Be careful how you look at it. Study the situation and the reasons why. Know what they are doing. Do they know what they are doing? That is important. Maybe they're ignorant, so you need time to train them. You need time to orient them. You need maybe some special consultants to help you. But the best thing to do is doing it when there is no challenge. To do it when there is no challenge. So this training, educating your members is the best thing when to do when there is nothing, when there is no challenge, when you have just been appointed and you want to develop your organization and you handle yourself, handle these things. It is the best, because when you do it when there is already a challenge, chances are it is going to be interpreted in one way or the other, depending on what you say, what you do, and the decision you take. And that interpretation may not be right. But if you did it before, you just refer. You just refer to that training, that document, that guideline, that policy. Say, you remember our guidelines say such and such and such. Therefore, we cannot go that direction. We need to go this direction. That way, there may still be resentment, there may still be some feelings, but you're not doing it when you're doing it referring to a document which everybody has, or the training that everybody received, or a policy that is underlying the organization. So the people will know that this is the way to go. So most in that case, you will know mostly that it is moving in the right direction. Surrender pride and ego. Some of the reasons why we react, why we are so concerned, why we hit back, is because of our ego, our pride. We are being touched. We are being, something is being scratched, and you don't want that to happen. Be surrender or control, and surrender it to who? Not to the people, but to God. Surrender it to God. Let him be the guide, the controlling person, controlling entity, controlling power. The hardest thing is to trust again, because once you lose trust, or once they lose trust in you, bringing it back again can be very difficult. It is not easy to build trust. It takes time. That's why it is best to do when there's no problem. Then a time comes when it is time to quit, to exit, depending on which method is used for the organization, which time, how many terms, and which term is used. It is important to quit or to exit honorably when the time comes to quit. Whether it is quitting for some other reasons, or whether it is time to the changeover to take place, it is honorable when you quit honorably, when you quit in the right way. Knowing the right time is more, running the right time is more of an art than a science. In other words, it is something that comes from the inner person. But it's just more so because that's why people refuse at times. And they claim for whatever reason, why this and this, why was I changed, why was I removed, I just done this and whatnot. All those kind of things come. So while there is a science, while there is a mechanism, by science means there is a mechanism, there are certain procedures, but it is more so than for the inner person to know. A mature leader ensures that suitable infrastructure is in place and all systems are functioning before departure and leaving behind messes. Now, I need to qualify this one. That is, if you are either retiring or resigning, moving on to another organization, don't leave things in shambles. Don't leave things in shambles. Doesn't mean that it must be perfect. It doesn't mean that you must achieve all the goals. But don't leave things in shambles. Make sure there is a clear procedure for handover, that things are moving well. That should be the goal. I know that there are so many things that happen in this world which don't allow this to happen, even within this church, but this should be the goal. Should be our zeal, should be our desire. Staying too long, of course, we know that may cause ugly things to happen. Preparing for departure is important. Succession planning, if it is allowed. But of course, it is allowed in every organization, except you don't do it politically. Just we saw it yesterday, allow those who are potential leaders to be involved, to be given responsibility so that they can grow, so that when time comes to choose, there is a pool of people that can be chosen from. That's what we mean. It can be abused sometimes, especially outside of the church, but even within the church. Preparing for departure is important. We have talked about this, succession planning, right? When it is possible. Let others experience the different levels of leadership so that you can see who are the possible successors. Upload and celebrate those who have assisted you to achieve what you have to the organization. How the world would be different if we all did that and everybody did that. We know it's a big challenge, but as you, for you, upload them. They may not have achieved all the goals. They may have gone in the direction that you think it was not the best. But still, if they have been leading for some time, they've been performing some work, upload them, talk about them, thank them. Let them know that you recognize them. There's nothing that is going to take away from you. Then plan with your team on what to do and how to improve. It should not be time for sour grapes. It's a saying. Sour grapes is a saying. Grapes are supposed to be sweet and nice. But when they become sour, that means they are not palatable anymore. When the relationships in the organization with your people are not good, that's what we call sour grapes. It is not time for sour grapes. It's not time to revenge. It's not time to speak all kinds of talks. We hear these happening, but it is important to know, and that is part of quitting honorably, quitting so that the organization continues to move on, the association moves on. Prepare for and participate in the orientation of your successor. Prepare for. Put some documents together that when I leave, or if I'm not re-elected, then this is what will happen. This is what we have done. These were our goals. This is what we have achieved, and so on and so forth. We are here and here and here. Nothing wrong with that. But as I said, many times people quit and they're so unhappy. They take everything with them, and the person comes in and finds nothing. That does not help our organizations. So as much as possible, in fact, aim towards doing the right thing. Preparing the orientation materials, and if invited or if possible, participate. This is what we used to do. We used to do it like this. You can do it in a different way, but this is what we did. We wanted to do this, but this one we failed. This one we achieved. We have such and such plans. We have such and so much money within the organization, and these are our sources of income and so on. So things of that nature, they help to set the tone for the organization. And remember, it is the organization, not me, not I. I benefit from the organization because of my good work, but not good work so that the organization may benefit from me. So I should do what is best, and when it is time to quit honorably. This is the time to quit from this presentation, and so I want to thank you so much for what we have been able to go through together. For the tips, it is, as I said, we have not covered everything. There are things that many of you know, many of you practice, which you can use to improve on this. Many of the things that can be applied in your organizations, but we want our organizations to grow. Beginning from the field, because we all most of us belong to North Buganda field, or the other fields that we represent here. That is what we want them to do, to grow, to be self-reliant, to spread the message, to preach to many, to convert many people, to change the percentage of Adventists in Uganda from 2.1 to something higher. I'm sure you have heard about it. This was announced yesterday from the statistics, and it says that the percentage of Adventists has grown from 1.7 to 2.1. That is it's a good direction, it's growth, but it shows that we are still very, very far. And the reason maybe is because we are not doing our part. Thank God we have learned about evangelism here. Thank God we are young people, most of us here. Thank God we are leaders and we want to lead with ethically, with authenticity. Thank God that we have the zeal to do it. So let us apply what we can apply. Let us do our best. Let us teach our colleagues so that we can move forward. Because if North Buganda moves forward, Uganda Union will move forward. If Uganda Union moves forward, ECD will move forward. If ECD moves forward, the whole world, the General Conference will move forward. But if there is one leg that is pulling the others, it becomes very difficult for others to move forward when others are pulling backward. So that is the desire. Let us have our organization at heart. Let us support it, support the leadership, and move together so that a lot can be achieved. May God bless you, and thank you very much for listening to me this moment. God bless you.